Hey everyone, I'm Tassenix and welcome to another mod guide video. This time we are kicking off the new Night Sister faction with none other than its leader, the Great Mothers. At the time of this recording, there is a datacron that was released more or less alongside this character that makes them way overpowered. The future will show exactly how strong they'll be in the meta going forward, but I know this team, it feels like it's going to be here to stay. I don't know if it'll always be on defense, which seems to be the case right now, but yeah, it's very, very powerful stuff. Before we go too much further, though, let's go ahead and dig right into the TLDR for the Great Mothers. Set types should be speed and health, or you might consider a two-piece of defense instead. Arrow should be speed, circle should be health, triangle health, cross health. I know some people might have alternative takes about maybe a tenacity cross, maybe a potency cross. Personally, I think for the life of this datacron, I think the right answer is health. There might be intelligent debates to be had outside of this cron. Turn order should be number 1. Modded speed-wise, I do like her to be very, very fast. I do find it's easier to have her modded with... For the same amount of applied speed, it's easier for her to be faster than Morgan, who is otherwise the character I'd like fastest on this team. So yeah, Great Mothers usually sits at number 1, and our stat priority is going to be speed over health over offense. So yeah, we just need her to cycle her turns, and we need her bulky enough to survive long enough to cycle turns, because unlike the other Night Sister team, there is no resurrection for our ladies. So we have to be, durable. And then, of course, she does actually have some significant damage, if allowed, so some offense is not bad. Alright, that's enough on the TLDR. Let's dig right into her leadership. Threads of Destiny. Get ready, this is a long one. Night Sister allies gain 30% defense, max health, and 30 speed. If all allies are Night Sister at the start of battle, at the start of each encounter, and end of each turn, if there are no enemies inflicted with the effect Doomed, Great Mothers removes ability block from themselves, gains the granted ability Fate Weaving, and takes a bonus turn. Alright, during this bonus turn, Great Mothers can only use Fate Weaving. Great Mothers can't use Fate Weaving 2 times in a row. If the enemy leader is light side, dispel stealth and ignore taunt effects while using Fate Weaving. Alright, so this is for all of your attempts at Leia, something like that, just pulling them out of stealth. If all allies are Night Sister at the start of battle and at the end of each turn, if there are no other allies with the effect Blessed, Great Mothers removes ability block for themselves, gains the granted ability Grit of Shadows, and takes a bonus turn. During this bonus turn, Great Mothers can only use Gift of Shadows. Doomed enemies can always be targeted by blessed allies and the Great Mothers. Okay, so, a lot of this language between these couple clauses is the same. At the start of battle, it's in case you're wondering how this actually executes, the check for if somebody is doomed happens first. So as far as these granted abilities popping off, Fate Weaving would happen first, which we'll see the definition for just below. But the bottom line is Fate Weaving allows you to apply Doomed. And then Gift of Shadows, the next ability listed here, granted ability, allows you to apply Blessed to an ally. Alright, so Doomed to an enemy, Blessed to an ally. Alright, so the definition of Fate Weaving. Target enemy is inflicted with a stack of damage over time for 1 turn and the unique effect Doomed for the rest of the encounter, which cannot be copied, dispelled, or resisted. Doomed is defined as protection is disabled on this character, and they can't gain stealth. They lose 20% max health whenever this character ends their turn until the end of the encounter, and they cannot revive. If this is applied to raid bosses or galactic legends, they instead have minus 5% defense instead of the, non-revival effect, since it seems to be a separate clause. Alright, Gift of Shadows, the other granted skill, says, target other Night Sister ally gains the unique effect Blessed for the rest of the encounter or until defeated, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. Blessed is defined as plus 20% max health and offense. This unit is immune to instant defeat effects, stun, and turn meter reduction. This character will assist whenever another Night Sister ally uses a special ability on their turn, dealing 40% less damage. Alright, great skill. Great skill. Now, I don't usually cover Territory Wars Omicrons as I'm a Grand Arena focused player, but I do think that this team is probably part of the TW meta going forward. This Doomed thing is bad business, and yeah, this it's a good Omicron. Expect to see them getting used. And I'm talking about after the Great Mother's datacron is gone. Alright. So, we have an understanding of, we get some stats here off the beginning. We see how there are conditions in which she's going to be able to repeatedly be able to put out Doomed. When you have your ally get blessed, for the most part, they should be sticking around, right? If that ally should be killed, then she'll get that bonus turn to put blessed back out. But what's really cool here about the meaning with Doomed is that once that first Doomed character dies, she gets that bonus turn and gets to put Doomed right back out onto the enemy field, right? And your blessed character gets to always be able to ignore taunt to target that. It's nice stuff. All right, let's take a look at her uniques. First one, To the Old Ways. Night Sister allies gain 30% accuracy, max health, and tenacity, but can't be revived. So that's in addition to the 30% defense, max health, and 30 speed from the leadership. So consider that, all right? This effect persists through defeat, both the stat gain and the non-revival of the allies. So if she's killed, it's not like you're allowed to resurrect Night Sisters after she's gone, okay? At the start of each encounter and whenever an attacker Night Sister ally or Great Mothers is critically hit, attacker Night Sisters gain Foresight and Stealth for 1 turn, limit once per turn. Whenever an enemy is critically hit, Great Mothers and all blessed allies gain 1% offense, stacking for 2 turns, and recover 2% protection, doubled if the enemy had vulnerable. Whenever a vulnerable enemy starts its turn, all Night Sister allies gain Foresight for 2 turns, and all non-tank Night Sister allies gain Stealth for 1 turn. Whenever a doomed enemy gains turn meter, blessed allies gain 25% turn meter, limit once per doomed enemy's turn. It's a word salad, guys. There's an insane amount going on in this unique, okay? So we get the stats. We have survivability in the form of Foresight for our Night Sister attackers. And she's defined as a support. So it's interesting that if she herself is critically hit, it doesn't look like she would actually benefit from this Foresight, because it says attacker Night Sister allies gain Foresight. She is categorized as a support, so that's fair to know. You got this offense stacking. God, it's nasty. And again, another TW Omicron. This is a serious character, guys. Real serious character in TW. Okay, large character. This is just the same thing as the Jabba unique. This is how they're representing mechanically. 3 characters in 1 body on the board. All right, let's take a look at her basic. Energy Threads. Deal special damage to target enemy. If the target enemy was doomed, inflict tenacity down for 2 turns, and they lose 20% max health, stacking, excluding Galactic Legends and raid bosses, until the end of the encounter, which can't be evaded or resisted. So this is all about hitting the doomed target with this, all right? Otherwise, inflictability, block, and speed down for 2 turns. Pretty good. Blessed allies gain Foresight for 2 turns, and non-tank blessed allies gain Stealth for 1 turn. Alright. That's a lot just baked into a basic, man. Alright. This is her one special ability that isn't, a granted skill. Okay? Magic Storm. If the enemy leader is light side, dispel all debuffs on all Night Sister allies. Dispel all buffs from all enemies, and doomed enemies are inflicted with vulnerable for 2 turns. Deal special damage 3 times to all enemies. If this attack defeats an enemy, all Night Sister allies gain defense penetration up for 2 turns. Okay, so when this character's kit first came out, I remember asking Fatal, I want to say on an episode of Plotting and Scheming, what do you think about putting this character in offense modding? Going for crit damage, kind of like what we used to do back with Mother Talzin. And yeah, he said, it would depend on how high her special crit chance is. It's abysmal, guys. 15%. It would take so much. Like, you'd want to at the end of the day, when she goes to do the attack, effectively have at least 80% special crit chance. All right, now you can assume, if there was something giving her a crit chance up, which I don't think there is, but like, you could figure in whatever combination of effects, but look at how laborious it would be. It's a lot of work putting that kind of crit chance onto a character like this. So as far as a crit damage triangle in an offense set or something like that, I don't think so. If you really wanted to force the issue and have offense modding, I would just go with offense primary for triangle and cross, right? However, given in the current meta, with her datacron providing so much power, it just seems that durability is the better play. In the future, there might be a case for a more offensively based modding instead of something so bulk related for her, okay? All right, let's go ahead and talk about team comps and turn order for a couple minutes. First, in 3 versus 3, you actually have a couple options. I meant to add one more comp. But Great Mothers and Morgan Elsbeth will, of course, be your core for this team. Your third character, at the start of the most recent 3 vs 3 season, where this Great Mothers character debuted with her datacron, Spirit was what everybody was running because she's a pretty nasty character in general, and as a Night Sister attacker, she's going to benefit very strongly from Great Mothers. It's bad business. What other folks had ended up switching to, and I ended up following suit later in this last season, was using Death Trooper Peridia as the third instead, because as we'll discuss when we get to the applications page, this team right now demands something very strong. Something like Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. Something like Jedi Master Kenobi. Alright? And this Death Trooper Peridia has an AoE attack that specifically endangers that Slacker counter. Because when you're doing that Slacker counter to this team, it's with crew lead, which means you're doing a ton of turn meter gain, which is reducing the max health of Slacker, meaning that if DTP gets a turn when Slacker's not in his ultimate, it's very possible that he could be one-shot. So I want to mention that because even though this datacron will expire someday and the power of this team's going to fall, and it will certainly not require something of the magnitude of Slacker or JMK, I think, in the long run, DTP is an interesting option to put a wrinkle in this. And I just wanted to mention that. As far as 5 versus 5 goes, you have a few options. The core of this team, I think, is going to be Great Mothers, Morgan Elsbeth, Night Trooper, and DTP. I am showing these teams, these characters here, in terms of the desired modded speed. Okay, so Great Mothers ahead of Morgan, ahead of Night, ahead of DTP, and that just so happens to be the way they all are. However, as far as your 5th character goes, you have a few options depending on what you're trying to do. I think generically speaking, Talia might be the best fit because she provides something that this team is otherwise lacking. There isn't defensive cleanse here. You could potentially face a lockdown situation. So maybe you've got Talia in something like tenacity modding. I'll have a video for her separately, but just mentioning the idea that her role in this team would be to be available on her turn to cleanse the rest of the allies. That's a pretty rare thing in this team, so I'd like to see that for the most part. Marin offers a lot of survivability. I have this squad exactly as seen here in Squad Arena with the Great Mothers datacron. It's incredibly cheesy, but the survivability, the restoration provided by Marin is the reason she's here. There is no revival from her. So, don't concern yourself with that. And honestly, I'm mentioning it because it's possible. I don't think this is really the right play for Grand Arena. I think you do want your Marin separately with your other Night Sister team. However, didn't want to neglect its existence. Otherwise, you might consider super strong attackers. Oh, you see, I did create that other 3 squad. I just didn't move it up in my arrangement. Let me fix that right here. Okay. So yeah, Night Sister Acolyte is actually a very powerful attacker in this team, so worthy of your consideration. Otherwise, Night Sister Spirit is a banger. She's frequently got foresight. Her offense, I want to say, is doubled when she has foresight. She gets to ignore defense on her special. Tough customer. All right, so, we saw from her leadership that Night Sister attackers in particular benefit strongly. So, if you were to tell me that you were inclined to have Great Mothers, the tank for the team, Morgan Elsbeth, and then 3 Night Sister attacker allies, I could scarcely say you're wrong. All right, let's get back in and discuss the mods themselves for her. It's the wrong page. Okay, here we go. Close this up just a little bit. So yeah, I went with speed and health sets. I checked a few of my other peers that are running her at a very high level, and we're mostly the same. So I think this is a fair representation, a screenshot in time, of the ideal modding for her to be paired with her datacron. I think this is how I'm going to keep her after the cron expires and let it play out. If I feel like switching away from this into something more offensive makes sense, then I may revisit it, and I could make an amended video at that time. But for the most part, I feel like the right move is to make her fast so she cycles her skills, the few skills that she has, because we would love to see Magic Storm getting used multiple times, wouldn't we? And that basic is incredibly potent for a basic skill. So I want to see those turns move. And I just need her to not die. So we have her bulky. So speed arrow, health primary for triangle, cross, and circle. I did make her Relic 9 as a survivability-based mod spec. Relic 9 benefits pretty well. So we have her comfortably up over 100,000 at Relic 9. You can, adjust your expectations accordingly if you have her Relic 7, Relic 8. Speed, you don't have to be so fast at 344, but I like her fast. In practice, you'll see that in the next video with Morgan Elsbeth, I want her to be as fast as I can be possible while also having a lot of tenacity and some armor sprinkled in. So in practice, I'm trying to have Morgan be closer off toward 340. That is blazing fast. You don't need that either. But I'm just saying that for a similar amount of speed, and not even as much speed as I've got applied to my Morgan, she ends up faster, my Great Mothers, at 344. So that's why I say she can be modded as first in mod speed on your team. Let her just pop off and get to work. Crit damage, yeah, it's really not worth pursuing that crit damage triangle on her, I think. It's just too much work. Tenacity, she has a very high base tenacity of 100%. Perhaps in the future, when this cron expires, there might be a case to put her in tenacity mods to make sure that when she does get turns, she is able to act. Possible, but not likely for now. Offense, added offense is fantastic. I mean, she's a special offense character. It just so ends up that I have really decent offense secondaries on this set, and it's about 3,000 offense added here. It's not a ton, but it hurts. I'll take it. I think that about covers it for mods. Let's go ahead and talk about applications here. So we only have this last 3 vs 3 season to really review the datacron, but I just want to show you what this is about, just as a snapshot in time. Set 17 offered a bespoke datacron for Great Mothers, in which you have this buffs up level 3. When Darkside allies use a special ability, they gain evasion up, health steal up, and health up for 2 turns. This level 6 ability that says whenever an enemy is inflicted with defense down, reduce their max protection by 5%, stacking max 50%. Whenever a Night Sister ally gains foresight or stealth, all Night Sister allies gain 5% turn meter and critical damage stacking until the end of the encounter. Whenever an enemy attacks out of turn, all Night Sister allies recover 40% health and protection. That's so huge. Gain retribution for 1 turn and 15% turn meter. That's the level 6. Now, I've spoken about this how many times in the video, but this is what's up. This is what's real. This datacron is absolutely insane. Hold on. Let me put it back front and center here. Okay. Great Mothers level 9. At the start of battle, Night Sister allies gain 200% defense and 100% health and protection and are immune to daze and fear. So considering the other synergies with health from her leadership, from her unique, Yeah, just bulk also seems like a pretty natural fit with this Kron, right? Whenever an enemy attacks out of turn, are there penalties for attacking out of turn? They take damage equal to 35% of their max health, which can't be evaded, and this damage can't defeat enemies. Attacker allies gain retribution for 1 turn. All Night Sister allies recover 30% health and protection. So that's also 40% health and protection from the level 6. Just whenever an enemy is inflicted with doom, they can't counterattack. Oops, I shouldn't have clicked that. There we go. They can't counterattack until they are defeated. They are stunned for 1 turn and have minus 20% offense for the rest of the encounter. Whenever this stun expires, they gain a bonus turn and speed up for 2 turns, which can't be evaded, dispelled, prevented, or resisted. So if you think about what this does, the doomed part is just part of Great Mothers, but now this accelerates the death of the doomed character. You feed them a bonus turn and then speed up on top of that, you're really hastening them deleting themselves, right? When an ally has Blessed, they and Great Mothers take minus 35% reduced damage, and they deal bonus true damage to target enemy, which can't be evaded whenever they use an ability. So there's another reason to have some offense baked in for the Blessed character and for Great Mothers, because then they do bonus true damage. Bonus true damage is based on the offense of the character. There you go. Oh, and also, just to boot, whenever an enemy is defeated, they can't be revived. So, permakill. So we're taking time. I don't usually do this to highlight a datacron like this, but it's an important part of the context of the modding of this team. We're going to be dealing with this with the next few months, and I know a lot of you have been wanting to know how to set up this team as it is right now. There's so much power added by this datacron that I am conceding up front. There may be a significant remod of this team in order when that cron expires. But for the time being, everything going forward about talking about this team will be with respect to having that cron. I'll try and make mention of that in the videos to come, but it adds so much power that you really do have to lean into it. And for the record, I hope CG doesn't make bespoke datacrons this powerful. They need to be powerful enough to incentivize you to buy them, but this is an awful lot. So that said here, I sorted on for no cleanups, Division 1, just to show more like in the area that I'm playing in. I sorted for minimum of defense relic tier of 7, and then assuming to have this cron. So what is it taking to beat this? JMK, Cat Plo, I used this a lot last season. The crew, Slacker, and Hux also works. 94%. Yeah, you're able to create a turn meter loop against this team, and you're able to close them out. You still have to mind when Slacker goes into ultimate so that you don't expose yourself to that random DTP grenade I mentioned earlier. But pretty much everything else right now, outside of JMK and Slacker, at least in 3 versus 3, is a real rough bet. 50% with Ray. What do you got? 28% with Lord Vader. 16% with Sith Eternal. Goose eggs for Bane. Yeah. You know, the lesser counters need not apply to this team for the duration of this datacron. Okay. So that about wraps this one up. It's an incredible character. The team is absurd. And I imagine, you know, in the future, there's still going to be a regular part of TW and probably of Grand Arena. Looking forward to seeing you all in the next video. If you've enjoyed this, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel to see more. Love interacting with you guys in the comments and on Discord. Until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.